One round of 4 match down, 1 to go. There's 2 players here, Elazer and Snute, looking to try and get to their back-to-back final as they were in WCS Valencia and doing very, very well for themselves there. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Montreal, as I am joined to my left-hand side to get this round of 4 match going by Todd and Maynard. No, Maynard did not phone it in. You've not seen him all tournament long. But now he's here. I'll talk to you in a moment, Maynard. But Todd, overall, what we saw from Neeb was truly a belter against True.
I don't know what belter means, but if it means absolute destruction, then I think that's what we saw, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, this is kind of what I expected, but then you see it happen. It's like, really? Like, can True not put up more of a fight? But Neeb is just on another level right now in a matchup that just seems to favor Protoss at the highest level. I even spoke to him about it. He's like, yeah. Seems like everything's going right for Protoss right now at the highest level against Zerg. Like, yeah, we're doing really well. So when players are this honest and admit it, I guess right. Kind of the case.
Maynard, nice to have you with us. I know you've been avoiding me this whole tournament.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, watching Neeb there, be as triumphant as he is, who's to argue that he gets 3 tournaments here in 2017.
Yeah, I think it was, in particular, True's style is very easy for Neeb as well, because he's such a guy that can lock it down so tight, and also, you know, True doesn't like making Banelings for some reason, so the Adept balls are very hard to deal with when he finds those little nooks and crannies to shade on into, so... you know, his style was very easily countered by Neeb by the looks of things.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. All right, that brings us on nicely to our next round of 4 match here, of course. Our finalists from WCS Valencia. Elazer goes up against Snute here, and it went quite the distance when it came to Valencia as well. Are we expecting similar things here, similar shades of that match?
I think these two are very well matched up against one another. I believe they're equal on encounters. It's like 18-18, so they go toe-to-toe. But as of late, it's been Elazer edging out Snute basically every single time. He won the last 4 encounters, which include 2 WCS ones, 1 in Challenger and 1 in the finals over in Valencia. So Elazer, right now, he's the top dog in terms of the ZvZs, even against the ZvZ specialist, so to speak, in Snute.
I'll get your thoughts in a moment, Maynard. As for now, we are almost ready for our round of 4 match. So without further ado, we do have our 2 Kings of Zerg from the European region. In Elazer, going up against Snute.
I'm not even sure Cyril's going to live that long here with his false base being down, turning claws, roaches, still killing. I mean, Cyril's just getting overwhelmed here by an Elazer that's just hungrier than him. But pathogen clans
I think my performance in this tournament was all right, so it still didn't get to me exactly why I'm in the semifinals.
Well, Elazer, you got nowhere to go. Snute, even Snute knows when it's end game, and there it is. GG's called out Snute 2.
My goal always is to get as far as possible and win as many games as possible and as clean of a fashion as possible. It feels great, but I'm concerned about the challenge ahead. Having to play ZvZ against Elazer, he's a very strong opponent. He just keeps improving and keeps improving, and now he's one of the best Zergs in Europe. He's a very strong opponent.
Well, I think Snute is like me. He's not in the best shape ever right now, so I think their match should be a bit easier than versus Cyril. I can't wait to play him.
The contrasting messages between the young and the old is so interesting when you think about it. Snute saying that, you know, Elazer's really good right now, getting better and better as time goes on. Elazer, yeah, we're both not playing very well right now. I'm like, okay then.
Pro gamers, man. I mean, they're just never happy, are they? Like with their own play, I mean. Right. Sure, when they win a final, they're pretty ecstatic. But you know, I was speaking to one of Snute's friends out in the crowd who just recently heard today that Snute told them that his ZvZ is trash.
Oh, okay.
Which I know for a fact is not true.
Okay.
And then, you know, and Elazer downplaying himself, and he's literally the last WCS champion. I mean,
yeah.
This is a grand finals rematch from Valencia. It went all the way to the wire, and I'm expecting it to do it again.
Yeah. Well, we're ready to greet our players to the stage as we have Mal ready to go for a Zerg versus Zerg. We've had a few, but here comes another one, Mal.
Yep, you know, I would have hoped that there was a Terran in this series so we could, you know, diversify a little bit. But it's fine. Zerg versus Zerg is always action-packed. It's always interesting. So, to my left, we've got a young Pole who's eyeing to join Neeb on the final stage for his chance to split the 2017 WCS Circuit in 2-2. But first, he needs to get through this man, the man named Snute, a powerhouse since the birth of StarCraft 2. will the Pole earn himself the opportunity of his lifetime to split and win 2 championships? Or will the veteran Norwegian shed some light upon the young Pole? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the second semifinals. It is Snute versus Elazer.
All right, let's get into it. Round of 4 once again. We had a very swift 3-0 before, but this one might go the distance. Todd, looking at how these two stack up against one another, what are we thinking?
I think Snute definitely has a decent chance to do okay here if he's fixed some of the problems that he had before. It feels like Elazer, he's just so good at, in ZvZ, the main science is figuring out when to drone and when to make units, right?
Yeah.
According to the opponents as well, which can be very difficult with the minimal amount of scouting that you have. You need to make the most of your overlords that can get pushed back by queens and links that don't always get in. And it feels like Elazer has just gotten so good at this. And also the Roach Wars. Like Snute used to be known as like the Roach guy, like the best in RVR, Roaches versus Roaches. Even took out Hyun so many times, which was technically the king of Roaches. But now we've got a new kind of king of Roaches in Elazer who used so many of these guys, and he's just so good with them. So, I mean, last time, Snute was up 2-1 actually in their best of 7 grand finals, and then they even went up to 3-3.
Yep.
But in those games, it was just Elazer getting the, I guess, a little bit of the better end of some of the things, and then in the end, he slightly edged out Snute. So I expect a competitive series, and whoever is feeling better here on the day, like even though they don't sound that confident in their interviews, I think he's going to take it. And it very well might be Snute. I don't think that just because Elazer won the last 4 encounters, he's an overwhelming favorite or anything.
Maynard?
I would like it to go to 5 games, and honestly, if I could predict that it would, I would put some money on it as well.
Okay.
This is a very, very close match. Both players, are players that can let their emotions drive them as well. Maybe Snute more so. He's a very emotional player, as you know, James, having seen him since the beginning of StarCraft 2 yourself.
True.
He's still that guy that can, be very, very hard on himself.
Yeah.
And I hope he doesn't do that, because if he has a little bit of confidence, even just a little bit, to ride the wave, he will actually bring this all the way to Game 5 and probably meet Neeb in the final.
Is there some stress relieved for, say, for example, Snute more so than Elazer? I mean, I know Elazer, he was always going to be going to BlizzCon anyway, but for Snute, now that that is completely secured, is that a little bit of stress relieved?
Oh, absolutely. Like, knowing that you're going to be at the biggest StarCraft 2 tournament of the year is a nice weight off your shoulders. You don't have to battle for points or anything like that. Both of them are going to be there, in fact, but I mean, I think that they're pro gamers, so they're just thinking about the match ahead. Snute even said it in his interview that he thinks about it 1 game at a time.
Maybe last time Snute cracked a little bit under pressure. I'm not sure what it was, but I think we all remember that Game 7 Defender's landing with the low hit point hatchery that he didn't click on.
Yes.
And that one probably haunted him for a while. I think he met Elazer against Sense in tournament and lost again, but now this is where it matters most. I really feel like for Snute, you shouldn't overthink it. Don't try to go too much far out of your comfort zone. Just try to play the best StarCraft that you can, go into your roaches and click on the damn hatchery if it's below 100 hit points.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We're about to find out who makes their back-to-back final here in 2017 WCS Circuit. As Snute goes up against Elazer, let's head over to Rotterdam and Zombie Grub for all the action.
All right, it is time for the second semifinals here at WCS Montreal, the final day of StarCraft 2 action. And it's going to be a ZvZ with lots of roaches. I am joined by Zombie Grub. I'm excited. How are we feeling, Zombie?
Pretty good. I think these players definitely respect each other a lot, and certainly they should after last tournament in Valencia. It was very, very close. That final game, as the desk said, must be haunting Snute. He's looking for revenge.
Yeah, historically, it's always been close between these two. Like Todd said, 18 and 18 between these two awesome players in series. Let's see if this man can get his revenge for that grand finals in Valencia, representing Team Liquid. Give it up for Snute.
And in the top left, as the red Zerg, give it up for Elazer.
I really like the fact that the devs spent quite some time talking about that Grand Finals in Valencia, because that's not that long ago. Elazer, of course, the defending champion right now of the WCS Circuit. Abyssal Reef was one of the maps they played in that Grand Final as well, and it was one of the maps that Snute was able to win. Elazer is more of a timing-oriented Zerg, I'd say, than Snute. Elazer will try to get creative with builds. He will either try to squeeze out a Spire, but much more likely he's trying to hit some sort of an upgrade timing. We saw weird timings like a 2-1 low drone count. I expect him to be a little bit more aggressive as well. Snute, on the other hand, in general seems to be doing better as long as he defends and just analyzes what's going on. And that is actually what gave him that 3-1 lead in the Grand Finals. The moment he lost one macro game back then, which was on Blood Bowl, they both maxed out, but Elazer got a little funky with Drop a Lord play. That's the moment it really seemed like Elazer was catching momentum, and Snute suddenly decided to play outside of his comfort zone. He went for a Nidus attack that didn't work, and then in that final game, obviously we had that low HP hatchery, but it was again Snute being very aggressive, which was quite funny because it seemed like throughout that entire series, the person that was aggressive ended up losing. Other than Elazer on Odyssey, where he made one hatchery timing attack work, all the other times, every player that started off attacking first actually ended up losing.
That's a funny way that ZvZ sometimes goes. Definitely agree about Snute usually. I mean, he's known as the defender. ZVT, obviously, the main thing, but in most matchups. But this game here, game number 1, we actually have Snute going for the 17-17 opener, so he's going to have that quicker speed. The baneliness is already on the way, and he only just now is finishing up his hatchery.
Yep. I spoke a little bit with Snute as well this morning, and I asked him, I was like, how are you feeling, Jens? And guess what? He said, I'm feeling good. I was almost shocked. I was like, damn. He's like, yeah, I'm feeling good. It doesn't mean I'm going to win, because Elazer is incredibly good in ZvZ. He's like, I honestly believe my CVT is quite a bit better, but ZvZ, he said, it's going to be very hard, but no excuses. I'm feeling good. So obviously very happy to hear that.
I'm getting a bit of deja vu from True and Nerchio. Snute trying to go for a very heavy Ling flood here, but not really that sneaky. Was seen by Elazer's Overlord, so no sneaky banelings on the side, no waiting to show that speed until the very last second. Although there it pops now, and there are the rest of the Lings showing themselves to Elazer's Overlord.
This seems to be quite rough already for Snute, though. Once again, Snute being the aggressor here. I think it's very important. He's going to go back to droning as quickly as possible. If he gets both queens, I'd say that's nice. But there is a spine crawler behind this as well. So Elazer invested quite a bit in the defense. I'd say if I was Snute right now, try to get both queens. If you can get something else, that's nice, but don't end up losing all of your Lings.
Yeah, those queens actually didn't really protect each other. There was a partial surround there. Now they have a full surround on that spine crawler. And did Snute just break Elazer?
Wow, that's actually going to do quite a bit of damage. Snute is going to be able to get more than just the queens and the spine. He's going to get 5 drones as well. The additional Lings should eventually be enough for Elazer to stabilize, but Snute should be very happy with the amount of damage that he's done so far.
Considering how Elazer looks so ready for it, the queen does in fact go down. It looks like the Lings are enough, but Snute has a couple more, actually a good handful more on the way. Elazer cannot go back to droning, and now he's down 3 drones.
Damn, I'm almost shocked how much damage this did. Even the queen in the main went down as well. Snute still has a couple of Lings. He squeezed out a few drones. He's up 5 workers now. But oh, that's a good connection there, obviously. So Elazer is sort of out of the woods. Gonna be careful that this Bane doesn't finish up. It doesn't. But Elazer doesn't really have the Ling numbers right now to really do any critical amount of damage on the other side of the map.
Yeah. I mean, Elazer went back to droning a little bit here, a bit, actually everywhere. Queen on the way, Lings on the way, Baneling on the way, and drones, but he's behind in workers for sure, and he wants to stop Snute from getting too far ahead. He did see those sneaky Lings. This Baneling was going to be sniped. There we go. The Queen focus firing, does get it.
Yeah, well done. Solid defense so far by Snute. It's important he doesn't forget about the Lings in the main. One more Baneling is going to try to find his way into the mineral line. Obviously, he will not kill with drones. Does get a very good connection, so a lot of very low HP drones. 2 Lings show up. Actually get 2 kills very quickly there. So in the end, I think this was all right as well. Elazer wants to get 1 more, and he does get 1 more. Gets 6. That's more than I expected as well. Both players showing some great offense here.
That was really nice. 1 Baneling doesn't kill the drones, but really all you need is 1 more Ling in there to get 1, 2, 3, and now we're up to 6. Elazer is taking the lead in workers again. The ebb and flow of ZvZ does continue.
Yep. So Evolution Chamber being thrown down as well. Obviously, it's going to be harder and harder to be incredibly effective with just Lings. Elazer does have Lings out on the map as well. I believe he has a couple maybe on the other side of the map. A few are in production. These queens are starting to run quite low in HP. First queen goes down. The second one is probably going to fall as well. And They're just exchanging a lot of blows here, but this time I think Snute is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage again, because where are the defensive banelings for Elazer?
They're just a little bit too late. He can trade out 2 for 2 here, and he might just want to do that. A baneling enters Elazer's mineral line, looking for that beautiful shot. He's personally saving them. There we go. Not the best ones, and it looks like the Lings, yeah, they got the focus fire to get those drone kills.
That is queen number 6, I think, that went down in this game. Is that correct? Oh my god, 6 queens going down in 6 minutes. That's not something you see incredibly often.
No, it's funny. Elazer, like both times, he seems prepared for that with the queens on the ramp, and they do get broken. Just a little bit too dependent, I suppose, on those queens while he drones.
This is going to be a little bit tricky for Snute as well, though, because that's quite a few Zerglings heading to the other side of the map. Obviously, if this baneling can get the connection it dreams of, that would be nice, but that's not really the case. Snute, where are your Lings? Where are your Banes? 1 queen goes quite far forward. There are 2 banelings here, and that should be able to keep this hatchery safe.
Yeah, it gets quite low, but I do believe he's going to be able to save it. Elazer sniping that would have been a good start to the process of recovery. He's still down in workers, and now he's just down completely in a 3rd base.
This is a fun ZvZ, a very hectic one. Roach Warren finishes up pretty much identical, and immediately Elazer fires up 8 roaches. Once again, Elazer is definitely a Zerg that would prefer to make these kind of weird hatchery tech timing attacks as well, with a couple of roaches and ravagers. In the past, he even ran queens across the map as well, but that's going to be very hard after losing 6 queens already. Snute, on the other hand, is most likely to start up a layer before his opponent did. Obviously, Snute is going to be very careful, realizing that this has been a very scrappy, messy game so far, with a lot of units dying, so this is not the time to get incredibly greedy.
Yeah, he has an Overlord scouting that Elazer has never taken that 3rd base, so he's not going to be greedy at all. He's up in workers. He has that 3rd. All he has to do is produce units to counter Elazer's. The army supply still in favor of Snute. I don't think this attack is going to work.
And this is awesome for Snute, indeed. He saw all those roaches on the north side of the map, so he knows exactly what's going on. He knows it's 3 hatcheries against 2. These roaches, I'm actually surprised that Snute is going for this massive counter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I hate it. He does have quite a few roaches at home as well. Maybe Snute is that confident, but 8 roaches against 15. This could get a little bit ugly. Oh, and these Zerglings running into banelings on the other side of the map. That's why I wasn't that big fan of a counter, because he needs to pay attention at home. Snute had all the tools to deal with this, but he suddenly made it a lot harder on himself.
Yeah, there are even more banelings to counter, more Lings that Snute sent across the map, but he does have the Defender's advantage, and I think that still works out for the roaches here. Ravager's even coming in now, though, and that hatchery was low, so maybe Elazer could snipe that, but he's pretty all in here, and he wants to actually win the game.
Yeah, but these roaches from Snute are quite low on HP as well. Elazer doing a good job keeping a couple of them alive, but some of his roaches are incredibly low now as well. Seems like Snute does have the numbers. Look at that one baneling having a dream, trying to connect with the low HP roaches. Doesn't really succeed in doing so, but at least Snute keeps the hatchery alive, and that's obviously the most important part for Snute right now.
Yeah, of course, right now it's not really mining very much, but certainly it's providing a little bit of larva. And it looks like Elazer's once again going to try and push in here. He has Ravagers, but they're being surrounded by the Lings. The roaches push forward from Snute, and I do believe Snute has got this game. GG. Well played.
Wow, very action-packed first game here in the 2nd semifinals at WCS Montreal. Snute being pretty aggressive early on. It really felt like Elazer had everything in place to deal with it. The 2 queens, even got the spine, let the spine finish as well. It was getting his own Lings, but Snute did more damage than Elazer counted, and actually did more damage as well than we expected. And then Snute just immediately returned the favor again by killing 3 more queens. And then obviously having the 3 hatcheries against 2 eventually gave him enough units to defend. I think Snute made it a little bit harder on himself than that should have been. Imagine if those Lings would have been at the home. Yeah. He gets a very easy hold, and that will never actually be close. But running those Lings into the Banes made it a little bit more dicey. But in the end, very solid game by Snute. Looks on point.
He certainly does. That beginning was interesting. Who was actually going to take advantage of those, like, fitting in the perfect amount of drones, just the perfect amount of Lings. And I do think, looking back on it, Elazer did give a little too much credit to those queens on the ramp. Abyssal Reef, you can go around them, but Snute just broke through them and got huge leads by killing, I don't want to do math, but 6 times 150 minerals.
900?
That was quite a lot. Good
Almost
job. Good
over
job.
900 with a couple Lings in the mix as well. Second map is going to be played on Ascension to Ire. That also is a map that we saw in the grand finals of WCS Valencia. That was also a map that Snute was able to win as well. So that actually must be quite nice for Snute to start off on 2 maps that he won pretty recently on the biggest stage against Elazer. This is obviously a bigger map than Abyssal, so there's a good chance that this time we actually will see a layer. maybe even Aspire. Elazer a little bit more likely to play with Aspire than Snute. We all know Snute loves his Roaches, loves his Ravagers, and if he has to deal with Mutas, well, then he just sits back, likes to get maybe a safety spore, and then just go up to Hydras.
Yeah, I'm loving the crowd cheerfuls, by the way. Some of them, of course, pretty clever, and some of them just straight up being Canadian, all about the boots. There we go.
Oh, we've seen memes, we've seen passion, we've seen it all. The crowd has been awesome over here in Montreal. You guys showing up early as well, every single day. Even the start of day 2, that's normally a slow day for us, but you know, when we walk in and we see everybody's already ready to watch some StarCraft, we're like, all right, let's go. We don't even have to like roll into this tournament. It's hype immediately.
So hype, you zoom in on the crowd. There we go. Absolutely perfect. Guys, we're getting to game number 2 in the bottom right as the blue Zerg. He is Team Liquid Snute.
And on the left top side, we're looking at the main base of the Polish Zerg, the champion of WCS Valencia. It is Elazer.
Snute going for, looks to be the same build here. He liked the way that started off. Elazer did, I mean, I guess it's more tempting to go for the same build, not only when it works, but also when it looks like they're well prepared for it and it still works.
Yep, and this is also, I mean, even though it's a very long map, at the same time, this is a safe opening for Snute, right? Like, if he would go up against any sort of crazy early shenanigans, he does have an early gas, he should always be fine. Elazer on the other end going for a little bit more of a macro-oriented opening, but in the end, this is not like a massive advantage for Elazer, especially not if Snute is going to be able to even up the score, just like he did on Abyssal with getting a little bit of damage done early on. I do think this is going to be a much longer game. I think this time we'll see some more tech as well. It's really funny to think where the strengths are of these two players in ZvZ. I still think that Snute is incredibly comfortable as long as he can max out. I think he's really good in spreading his army. Elazer is incredibly good in tricking his opponent, I feel. Like, obviously, Elazer is a very fast player. And you especially see that, I think, in his ZVPs. I love watching Elazer's ZVP. And I think if you speculate about the grand finals between these two, I actually think Elazer could put up a better fight against Neep, who would be the favorite regardless, I think, against, or than Snute does. Because Snute, I think, plays maybe a little bit too predictable for Neep, while Elazer is very fast-paced in that matchup. It never stops. Banelings roll in from every angle, does a lot of Baneling drops as well. And I think that's maybe one way to get a dent in the armor that is Neep, and especially Neep's PVZ, which looks ridiculous.
It looks way too good. But last time they were on Ascension to Ire in that Valencia finals, Elazer was caught trying to get to Mutas. It's a lot. It's a bigger map. You know, we might probably will see Lair here, and it was actually Elazer who lost to the timing of Snute. Will that repeat? It doesn't look like we're going to be talking about that anytime soon, because Snute is going once again for more Lings, faster speed, and faster Baneling Nest.
Yep, and it was very effective on Abyssal. Now, once again, Abyssal is a map where there is a little bit of a ramp, at least from the right side of the natural. So going up a ramp is always a little bit harder than entering the natural, as you can see over here on the Ascension to Aya. Yes, there is a ramp all the way on the right side, but this is a flat ground, so Elazer is going to have a harder time getting some sort of a wall off, and Snute knows exactly what he's facing. Elazer actually playing super greedy over here, going up to 3 bases. Jess, I'm starting to get a little bit worried.
So am I. I'm not sure he saw those Lings, the first Lings go across the map, or the timing of the natural, so the speed Lings were his first indication something was up. The Queens are on the ramp, but there are a lot of Banelings. They probably should be saved off of these drones. It might even target the Queens to allow entrance into the main base. Target firing those Banelings as well as what he can.
Yep, in the end, these Queens will fall. A couple of Lings were about to show up from Elazer. It's incredibly important Elazer doesn't lose all of his Lings immediately, and he does lose quite a few. That Baneling has an incredibly good connection in this mineral line. 7 drones went down already. A few drones are still very low on HP. Yes, there are defensive Banes right now for Elazer, but it's already down 7 workers.
Yeah, more Lings, I think, are coming forward here, but there was a Baneling to take care of him. Snute is making more Lings, though. He's not scared by the size of the map. I think he knows about the 3rd base. He might try and target fire that next.
I think that Snute can get a very easy kill on this hatchery. He doesn't have to go for the kill, to end the game. He can just get a kill on that hatch, maybe force out a few more units, because he also knows that he's economically ahead right now. So as long as his Lings force out more units from Elazer, every second that goes by is a good second for Snute, as he has 5 more drones mining right now.
Yeah. But I do feel like the map size is getting to a little bit here. The waves of Lings not quite pairing up against the Elazer's defensive properties, and it looks like that third base is going to be saved. It's a bit of extra larva, obviously, as they get into higher drone counts. The fact that they're going to have more minerals to mine is going to be a big deal, but for now, Elazer's still down in workers.
Damn, very different story that we've seen so far than we saw just a month ago in Valencia, where the aggressive player was having quite a bit of well, struggles and issues, making that aggression actually really pay off, and often actually saw himself fall behind. This has been the complete opposite. Snute being aggressive both games so far, and definitely getting a lot of value out of his aggression. Now we're going to keep a close eye on this production tab from Elazer, because just because Elazer is on 3 bases, that doesn't necessarily mean that he wants to tack up. But I mean, Ascension to Ira is such a big map that you can't really imagine any sort of hatchery attack work.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that Elazer took his time making those queens, remaking those queens, and down on the ramp, so they're only just gonna pop out. Yeah, one of the third as well. But Snute with that really fast lair, I kind of like the way that Snute is playing. He's talking about like last time the aggressive players seemed to do worse. Maybe Elazer was banking on that. Maybe Elazer was banking also on Snute usually being a defensive macro-oriented player. It doesn't expect the early Lings. Maybe he doesn't expect the Mew to play either. Although I do see an Evolution Chamber, I think, just finished up for Snute.
Yeah, so even though Snute didn't go for the kill on that third hatch earlier on, which I think maybe if he would have produced nothing but Lings and Banes, it was possible. But the Lings that he made still forced Elazer to make a bunch of defensive Lings, and it still slowed down the economy of Elazer quite a bit. So even if Snute didn't get the kill, I still think that investment was worthwhile. Snute is actually going to be one to just drop a Spire immediately. Yeah. We saw, I mean, layer tech finishing up, there was still no Roach Warren, so this makes sense, and I don't hate it, and I think it's going to be quite hard for Elazer to figure out how far along is the tech of Snute right now.
Well, unless he gets Lings.
Yeah. Okay, these 2 Lings change everything.
Yeah, the Evolution was actually canceled. It was kind of like, I was like, wait a second, that actually finished. He canceled it and then added a bunch of gas, so maybe there was even a little bit of like, I think I can get away with this. Unfortunately, with that scout in the main base from the Lings, looks like it, whoa, the Spire will be scouted, but did they see the Hydra on his way out?
I'm not exactly sure. Immediately, Elazer did start his own layer, but that layer is still going to be very late though, so it's still going to be quite hard to deal with Mutas. Even if Snute just makes, let's say, 6-7 Mutas, he will absolutely get a couple of Overlord kills. You're going to force out a couple of Spore Crawlers, and this middle line was way too exposed. The Banelings being a little bit out of position, as Snute once again very casually getting 5 drone kills. He does end up losing a couple of Lings in the end, but that's still worth it, guys.
Yeah, that was really
nice.
Fast. That is a very fast lurker follow-up, but this is pretty cool. If Elazer sees the Spire, so he's going to play his own solid game where he just macros up on 3 bases with Roaches, maybe eventually the Hydras and Infestors, and by the time he's like, okay, I'm ready to go, I've actually weathered the Muta Storm, he's going to be up against Lurkers, not a Roach force that is a little bit later to +1, but Lurkers.
So Elazer does scout it, but if I'm Elazer right now, I'm like, okay, so obviously there's a good chance you're going to go Lurk as well. This is awesome. Elazer actually throws down his own Spire, and that's going to be incredibly key. Elazer obviously does not want Snute to scout this Spire, because Snute makes a couple of Mutas kind of in a way that we've seen a lot in Zerg vs Protoss, right? You make a few Mutas, you hope to force out cannons, maybe Stargate, maybe they go all the way over the top, 2 Stargates, Fleet Beacon, they overreact, and then suddenly you hit them with something else. That was obviously Snute's plan here. Just makes 5 Mutas, but actually wants to go up to Lurkers. But if Elazer can keep his Spire hidden, Elazer can maybe catch Snute off guard with a lot of Mutas, and then obviously these Lurkers become a lot less relevant.
Yeah, I just wonder how much they're really bouncing off of each other here, actually reacting to each other. Snute with a cancel on the Evolution Chamber, wanted to be sneaky. The Lurker Den felt like it wanted to be sneaky, but Elazer's scouting has been fantastic, and a great Baneling hit. 7 drones go down.
Yep, but more importantly, I think as well, is that Snute does spot this Spire in the back of the main of Elazer. Now I truly wonder, it's just a guessing game. I think both players are kind of in an odd spot right now. It's okay, what am I supposed to make? Snute is going to start making Hydras. Obviously, he's going to keep a couple of them into normal Hydra shape. Doesn't morph all of them into Lurkers.
I feel like they both had this plan going into this, and then they're seeing each other react so well that they eventually were going to get to maxed out Roach, Infestor, Hydra, and be like, well, what was the big deal? But actually, they say that Elazer makes 9 Mutas. He could try and continue on to that, but Snute is making Hydras and moving across the map right now.
Yeah, Snute does have a little bit of an army advantage. Finds a couple of drones that were in transit as well. Snute is really playing excellent so far in this series. I love almost everything he's doing. He definitely seems like he's really feeling in the game. Few more Lings are going to find their way into that mineral line. These queens are a little bit exposed as well. Snute does have to be careful because there's a lot of energy on those queens.
I'm just looking at Hydras that don't even have their upgrade going across the map, like 9 of them unprotected, and wondering...
Who is this hyper-aggressive Zerg, and what have you done with Snute? Like, where is that actually Jens on the stage, or...?
This is really bizarre. The Mutas were able to help out the Hydras. They were in a low count, so Elazer's growing Muta count is still a worry. I'm glad that Snute pulled back. He wasn't going to win that fight, especially having to go across the map. The Mutas definitely take control here for Elazer.
Yeah, and that's nice, because I feel what Elazer absolutely needs is a little bit of time. Elazer had one thing going for himself, is that he had quite a bit faster upgrades, so if he starts making a couple of roaches eventually, that could work out well. But he does know there are lurkers potentially on the other side of the map. All of the Mutas have gone down for Snute, so Elazer finally has a little bit of map control and should be able to buy quite a bit of time for himself. He's actually making a lot of Lings as well, and Bailing speed, by the way. Bailings are incredibly effective against Hydras if they can actually get in reach. But of course, Snute is also getting Infestors.
Right. I mean, there's so many things. The Bailings against the Hydras usually is a beautiful move. Even a Roach Hydra can be very, very good. But Snute is getting Infestors, as you mentioned. He also still has that Lurker Den, so at some point he could also add on Lurkers. I wonder what Elazer is going to do. Sometimes you see an opportunity with Mass Muta, Mass Bailing. You just actually run in and try and win. But a lot more often, I feel, we do see the fast tech up to Hive, and there's Elazer's Infestation Pit.
Bailing's going to try to connect to this mineral line, but this time the Snute does pay attention. He pulls the drones immediately, but these Banes have speed, and they will still get a couple of pretty good hits off here. 10 more drones go down. Elazer definitely buying a lot of time for himself, but he's going to have to be very, very careful. Infestors are out, and soon they will have enough energy to fungal.
Gosh, Snute's moving out with a Hydra Infestor army. He's got to hit those fungals. He knows that speed is on those Banelings, and he should be still a little scared that they're around, but the Mutas have actually taken on the main base where a lot of tech was. There's just not many queens, and the Hydra army is committing to the attack.
Well, Snute did not expect Elazer to just jump on top of a Spore Crawler like he did, but he's actually going for it. 2 Infestors quite exposed there. Elazer does not jump on top of them. He's quite worried about this Hydra army, but there are quite a few Banelings, and actually seem like they're going to get pretty good connections over here. The Hydra number definitely a lot lower than it was. Does Elazer have enough to pick up the remaining Hydras? I think with all the additional Banes and the Mutas coming in from behind, he shoots.
I think we see Snute making maybe a massive mistake. Actually, I'm pretty sure a massive mistake. He set those Infestors back once he realized the Mutas were getting out of control, but he needed those on the front line to take on the Banelings. I think if he had a second to think about it, he would have realized that, but he got caught moving out when the Mutas came in.
Very smart ZvZ so far by Elazer. It was definitely a little bit of trouble early on. That is a big fungal. The biggest problem is there are not that many Hydras left. There are a couple of Ravages in the mix though, so Corrosive Ball will connect. Well, that's actually an excellent hold so far for Snute.
This is just barely a hold, perhaps. A couple more Hydras are on the way. The Banelings roll in. They can take on, actually going for the drones here.
That is a big problem.
And then splitting a little bit. I mean, this is actually going down to the wire here. Only a couple of Mutas left over. I think Snute might be able to hold against the Mutas, but the Ling flood is coming in.
And Elazer has a fantastic economy on the other side of the map, while Snute has been losing drones left, right, and center. He's losing drones in the main against those Mutas earlier on. He lost against the Bailing run-bys, and now again by the counter-attack. You can see 32 workers have gone down in this game. 66 drones at the moment for Elazer against only 42 for Snute. Yeah, Snute just needs a little bit of time right now to rebuild. Just got over eager there. Maybe didn't expect that many Bailings to be out. I don't know.
There is almost a counter bad move from Elazer with those fungals, but he does have that great economy, and that's definitely important to note. Snute's back to just trying to rebuild slowly, and while his fungals can save him from mass mutas, that's no longer the true threat. Elazer's up to Hive, and he's on his way to Ultras.
Yep, and that is going to be incredibly hard to deal with, especially because there are no Roaches out either. Roaches can tank a little bit, can make it hard as well for Ultras to get on top of Hydras, but the moment Ultras get close, Hydra's obviously not the greatest kiting unit in the game.
That's true. Elazer is getting quite a large bank here as well. He's continuing his attacks with a single Muta, but more importantly, those Lings, keeping tabs not only on Snute's economy, which is caught up by now, but is also keeping tabs on where the army is. He knows Snute's not going to be feeling aggressive anytime soon.
Once again, a couple of Banelings. I feel like they could have got to the mineral line, but perhaps they took an awkward route, clicked wrong, and actually the path was blocked. So Snute kind of dodges a bullet there, because this was not the moment to lose 6, 7 additional drones. So even though Ultras are incredibly scary, and there's going to be Vipers out as well, could potentially abduct stuff, and obviously Blinding Cloud can be massive against Lurkers and Vipers, at least I feel that Snute has survived a very scary phase in the game, where he was down 20 workers and almost had no anti-air anymore.
Yeah, that was very scary indeed. 20 more Lings are already there, and that might have snowballed, but to be honest, I kind of forgot that Lurker was made so long ago, so he does have an answer to the Ultras, but this is coming down to Lurker, Infestor, Roach Hydra versus Viper, Ultra. Another nice bailing in on the third, fourth.
I love it what Elazer is doing there. It's quite obvious, obviously, running a couple of Zerglings in the south side. If there's nothing there, that's awesome. They could potentially do a little bit of damage. One more bailing as a dream, and does connect with a few more bailings. But what I love about Elazer is that he's always trying to distract his opponent. He's always like, hey, look over here, Lynx. It's like, okay, you're not watching. And then suddenly a couple of bailings show in from the north side, trying to ambush one of these other bases where most likely your opponent is not paying attention.
So Snute has been on the defensive for the past 8 minutes, something like that. So how has his scouting been? Has he realized that Elazer is up to a hive on his way to Ultras? I'm guessing yes, just because he hasn't seen more mutas added. Didn't actually physically scout all those are changing. That certainly could. But there he sees the Ultras, actually, and that'll tell him. He probably clicked on the armor as well, seeing if they have chitinous plating. He's going to have to just play as he's been playing, which is defensive, and hoping that that will work out for him.
Yeah, I mean, Lurkers can be fantastic, but that's quite a few Ultras. And obviously, you have to worry about these Vipers as well that could abduct the Lurkers, make it a little bit harder as well. Snute is going to have a lot of Lurkers there, but that is a great Blinding Cloud by Elazer.
Yeah, he tries to counter Micro and lift some of them, but another Blinding Cloud, just too many Vipers. Infested Terrans coming out here, and sometimes confusing the Ultras. This isn't going so poorly. Like, the Lurkers, some of them even live, and that is a hold by Snute.
Yeah, I still think this base on the low ground, I think that's going to be incredibly tough to defend, because the Lurkers obviously a little bit out of position, could potentially get a couple of Lurkers on the high ground. Look at those Lurkers being trapped by the Infested Terrans almost. But I think losing this hatchery is obviously not as bad as losing the game, but he's actually not even going to lose, because he sieged the Lurkers there on the high ground as well. Wow, Snute with the stick plays.
Fantastic positional play, which usually talking about Roach versus Roach, we're talking about Lurkers versus Ultras. These guys actually haven't been able to reach above 150, I would say. It's been constant back and forth. Elazer does have the stronger economy. He's had his bases faster. He's always been on just a few more drones. But Snute has this really powerful composition that if Elazer continues to just try and force the win, Snute would take it at the end.
Yeah, the Infested Terrans were incredibly useful there. Just make it hard for those very big and clunky Ultra lists to find their way to the target they actually want to start attacking. And you don't want to waste too much time as well attacking Infested Terrans that don't do that much damage, but it does add up, obviously, if there's only 15 or 20 of them. I think if Elazer would have gone for that fifth base immediately, he gets an easy kill. Instead, he tried to go for the juggler, and that kind of turned out quite poorly. During all of this, there is a Great Aspire on the way, but Snute still has to be very careful. There are a couple of Vipers out with energy as well, but I must say the spread on these Lurkers looks quite solid.
Yeah, it's quite good, and he's even adding on more Lurkers. The Vipers are going to come in here, though. Abducts might be the way to go. In fact, it is. Grabs a couple of them, and now the spread might be a weakness of Snute. The rest of his army has to come forward here.
Again, creates a little bit of a wall with a couple of Infested Terrans there, but so far these Lurkers have just not been able to get a whole bunch of shots off. There is one more Blinding Cloud there as well, and during all of this, there are Lynx attacking one of these exposed mineral lines as well, and this could finally be it for Elazer as he evens up the score in this second semifinals. Damn, these games are action-packed.
Yeah, that was a fantastic game. In one fell swoop, yes, he took that supply lead. It looked easy, but that game certainly was not. As Snute had taken a fight in a choke, perhaps if he had more energy on the Infestors because of Terrans, it could have been another hold.
It almost felt that if Snute didn't try to rush up to that fifth hatchery, but would have just stayed a little more passive, I think it would have been a lot easier for him to defend, because then obviously Elazer is going to have to go up one of the ramps. I mean, there are multiple ramps, being able to attack either the natural or the third or even the fourth base. But while that Great Aspire is halfway done, I'd almost feel like maybe that would have been the safer play, because obviously the spread on the low ground was good, but they were still very, very exposed.
Yeah, I agree. He maybe should have just stayed on 4 bases on that high ground that Ascension Ire does have when you're on those bases. I don't know. That was a very tough game. I think that if Elazer was a lesser player, he gets beat back once with the Lurkers with his Ultras and is like, well, I guess the Ultras aren't the way to go. And he gives Snute too much time to get to that Greater Spire, and I'm certain that Snute was also hoping that would be the case, but he actually accurately read that fight and took it.
Such a bizarre game as well, because once again, early on, things were looking excellent for Snute. It kind of went wrong when he decided to just be a little bit too aggressive with the Hydras. He's probably thinking in his mind, he's like, that's why I never attack. You see what happens? I was pretty far ahead in that game, and yes, he was. But obviously, the Bane's on the other side of the map. It's funny as well, because technically, if you have Roach, Hydra, and Infestor, that is fantastic against Ling, Muda, Bane. Like, Ling, Muda, Bane is not supposed to win against Infestors. But obviously, if the Infestors are at home, and Banelings can just connect against Hydra numbers, also, the bigger the army gets, the worse it becomes for the Banelings. But that was not that big of an army, especially because a lot of units were still at home as well. So that move out that Snute made was the dream scenario for Elazer.
There are so many twists and turns to that early game, so many additional tech paths that could have been. But we are getting into game number 3. It's going to be on Mech Depot. In the bottom left, as the blue Zerg, it's Snute.
And over here on the right top side of Mech Depot, we're looking at the main base of our Polish Zerg, the defending champion. It is Elazer. The consistency of some of these players in the WCS circuit this year has really been remarkable, right? Like Elazer pretty much always making the quarterfinals. Neeb obviously winning 2 tournaments and now again being in the final. Elazer being in the semi-final, in a final, and now potentially in another final if he wins this one. And then obviously Snute being in the final of Valencia. That's, I mean, it's no coincidence that we're casting these two, I guess.
No, it's not. Clearly the top 8 players of the, I guess, non-Korean scene have really shown why they deserve to be there. We do have, and I was wondering if this was going to happen. So Snute, as you joked, is like, this is why you're not aggressive. Like, this didn't work out. I wonder if he was going to now switch off of that 17-17, go back to what he's kind of used to. You can see even on his camera, he's kind of like, I had a lead. Like, I was too aggressive.
Yep, you can kind of see it. Sometimes they don't have to say anything. You can just read it off their face. I also think it has something to do with the map. I think Mech Depot is very large. I think this map is a lot bigger than a lot of people give it credit for. It can become very hard to attack, especially early on because of all the rocks. And obviously there is an actual ramp leading into the natural expansion as well. And that's always a little bit harder to attack into than on a map like Ascension to Ire, where it's just flat ground.
Yeah, exactly. That didn't stop Snute from doing it on Abyssal Reef, where he managed to kill all the queens and try to block that ramp.
But Abyssal is a lot smaller than Mech Depot, right?
Is it?
Yeah, for
natural
sure.
to natural.
I think so, for sure.
Okay.
Abyssal feels just a lot smaller. I mean, you have to take kind of a weird tour. I mean, there's rocks there, there's just a lot of awkward paths. Like, if the rocks weren't there, then obviously it becomes close. But then even then, I think Mech Depot is a tiny bit bigger.
That is a good point. Well, we have Snute still getting that faster speed despite not opening up more aggressively with the hatch, or pool gas, rather. He's taking these guys off of gas, whereas Elazer still has him in past 100 gas.
Nice. He's getting a very fast evolution chamber as well. And that is a super fast layer here for Elazer. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It's going to be hard to get a layer much quicker than that.
Okay, well, I don't know if Snute's really going to be worried about scouting. You know, soon enough, the Overlord over Elazer's third base is going to say, like, okay, tick-tock, where's that third base? And then he's going to be interested in it. But Elazer is going to try his best to let him keep that layer a bit of a secret. You see the +1 started on the Evolution Chamber. You see the Roach War at the front. You do realize, okay, they're also going to get faster layer, but that's where you have speed. That's where you have a third base, and you can still get your own gains from that.
Elazer did have this game against True on this map earlier in this tournament, where he went for that incredibly fast 2-1 timing. It became a very messy game, and Elazer even said on stage he wasn't exactly sure whether he was ahead or not. He was trying to sell Snute the same thing, like, yeah, this very fast +1 missile attacks. Snute did scout it, but there's a good chance that Elazer might actually drop a Spire and doesn't even use the Roach Warren at first.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, it's just going to be Queen Nidus? Okay, well, that's very different.
I was like wondering if any more gas is going to come in here, but that's something that if Snute doesn't get a scout, so he probably noticed, he didn't see the Nidus Worm, but he probably noticed the Evolution Chamber wasn't researching anymore, and that usually is going to be a Spire, so he might not be thinking about anything aggressive.
I mean, Snute tried one Nidus build against Elazer in the Grand Finals of Valencia, back then on Sequencer. Did not work out, because Elazer spotted it in time, the Nidus was a little far away as well. I mean, Snute is incredibly good, but I still think it's kind of hard to put the pieces in place here and figure out that this is actually what's happening. Look at the army supply. It's 24 already against only 8. Snute is still building a few drones as well. Now the Roach Warren finishes up, but this could very well be too late. This hits so fast.
Yeah, if he still believes it's the Spire, he's not going to be bothering to build too many roaches, but now realizing to get some, the Nidus Worm has come out here. The Queens have a couple of transfuses, and Snute simply doesn't have anything. He's waiting on all of those eggs to pop.
Yeah, he's had 8 roaches in production, but it's going to take quite some time before all 8 of them are out. He does counter with a couple of Zerglings on the other side of the map. That's nice. A, it buys a tiny bit of time, and B, it cuts up some reinforcements. But this is the biggest problem, right? Like, units that pop in the main base almost get killed immediately. Elazer could have perhaps gone for the roach one, but he decides, nope, I want to go for the kill. I'm going to jump into the natural off Snute. Snute does have quite a few drones to help out here.
That was a little bit awkward, but he does get down the main ramp. I was worried he wasn't going to be able to. Snute now getting his drones involved in the action. He does have some to lose, and he's bringing forward a Spinecrawler. The other one's about to finish here too. He's still reinforcing with as many roaches as possible. Is Snute really gonna be able to make a defense here?
I mean, the spines are awesome. The biggest problem is not all of the roaches are here right now for Snute. He lost 21 workers, but he is pushing these queens back for now. But obviously, the main base is still very, very valuable to Snute. A, it's a base, and B, the roach warren is there as well, and the spawning pool is there. I think it would be useful for Snute to maybe rebuild the roach warren as quickly as possible in case it does get in danger. So far, the hold is phenomenal though, but I'm not sure if Snute can keep his main alive.
It is a hold. He's still alive. He still is on 2 bases with almost equal amounts of workers. Elazer now starting his own droning as well. What a weird response to the Nidus Worm, but the best one Snute had was just like abandon ship to the natural base and buy time. It's lucky he was already starting that Spinecrawler third too. Yep,
and he does rebuild the roach one immediately, but now one big problem is that he doesn't have a layer, right? So what happens if Elazer stops? Well, I guess it's very risky to stop building roaches, because Snute is actually going to try to kill the Nidus, and that would trap this army of Elazer here, as Snute has done nothing but building roaches for a little while. A couple of Broodlings could potentially help out here.
Yeah, exactly. The Broodlings hang out as well, and Snute, with a fantastic move, sneaks past Elazer's army in his own base to take out the Nidus Worm. Elazer trying to rebuild a second one, probably just for escape, but I think all of his units will be dead by then.
Saves 2 roaches, but that's still a little bit expensive as well. Snute retakes his main, cleans it up, defense, incredibly impressive defense by Snute right there. Because when this started, Snute had like 8 army supply against 24. Wow, that was amazing.
I think he was fortunate that he was already starting to Spinecrawler to third base, and that he did, you know, he's like, okay, what's happening? We make a couple of roaches, because if that wasn't the case, it probably does already snowball. He's already lost the game, but what a fantastically timed pull back from the main base. It's a now very awkward game where they are both getting their third bases, quote unquote, around the same time, with around, well, actually, Snute managed to get a worker lead while he took out that army.
Yeah, which is remarkable considering the fact he lost 21 drones. But that was okay. I really think that little link counter he had early on as well, while Elazer was clearly focusing on his attack. Those links did a little bit of damage, getting 5 drones. May not sound like that big of a deal, but if your opponent only has 24, 25, 26 workers, picking up 5 drones is obviously incredibly massive.
Yeah. Now, Elazer does have that faster layer, of course, so he is going to that roach speed, and that's going to let him control the map. Snute, I believe, still has, yeah, he went for speedling, so I guess those could provide counterattacks later on in the game. But for now, just focusing on roach versus roach. Snute's going to have to play defensive until, well, he can get the spawning pool up. It finally finalized, so now I can rebuild his queens and his lair.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while. I was kind of wondering if there was any sense for Elazer to potentially make a Spire, knowing that he killed the layer off Snute. It was obviously going to be very hard for Snute to get any sort of decent anti-air out. But at the same time, maybe he's worried that if he would try to tag up 2 meters, that he could die against a roach counter, because obviously he expected Snute to rebuild that roach warren as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Well, I do believe Snute's been without Solar Injects for a little bit since he had to wait for that pool, but now rebuilding the queens, as he likes to do. A lot of roaches still in the way for Snute as well. I think he saw that army moving forward here. It's Snute's army supply is in the lead, and he has spine crawlers as well, so Elazer is just taking advantage of his speed to poke and prod.
Yep, Snute absolutely not in any sort of real danger. We see tunneling claws being researched actually by Elazer, something that he is definitely a pretty big fan of. He's going to start Burrow as well, obviously. There's some potential to do some damage there, but it's quite late. Obviously, it's been a weird game, especially economically. It's been quite odd. This is an interesting investment, and I think it needs to do a lot for it to pay off in this phase of the game.
Yeah, Snute going for still a lot of roaches. I mean, he also started +1 and roach speed, so I feel like he should be adding in some drones. Obviously, he wouldn't be waiting for those upgrades if he was going to go for an attack. There they are now, yeah. Elazer had jumped up quite a bit on his 3 bases. He's even going to 4 now, so...
I mean, I like this for Snute, obviously, especially because right now Elazer is investing in tunneling claws, in burrow, but that doesn't do that much for you defensively. It's a nice offensive tool. You can definitely find your way into the back of a mineral line and maybe get a couple of drones here and there, but when you have to defend against overwhelming numbers, it just doesn't do that much for you. Those are resources that Elazer could absolutely use right now in a few additional roaches or additional ravages.
Yeah, Snute certainly had a moment where he was way up in army supply and it looked scary, but without his own roach speed, it was always going to be really like, judgy to actually push in there. So Snute just added on those drones. He still has the army supply lead, but Elazer with the faster third or the faster 4th base, more drones a little bit quicker, should be able to match the army and have that superior upgrade.
There is at least one overseer on the map, obviously, for Snute, and I think that's it. This is actually the only overseer that's out right now, so our observer is showing us as well. So this could get a tiny bit tricky. Elazer sends one of his overseers into the main base of Snute, perhaps wants to see if there are any spores out there. The overseer did make its way back home, right? Almost. Where's Snute's overseer? It's on its way.
It's coming along. Snute is getting overlord speed.
Yeah, he's getting a second one. It seems like Snute knows exactly what he's up against, wants to make sure he doesn't take too much damage from these burrowed roach attacks, and yeah, he read this incredibly well.
Yeah, probably saw the roaches that were still walking around with their graphical upgrade. So, but he's going to be split no matter what. He has the arm supply to split as well, and it looks like he's doing a really good job of it so far.
Yep. Might end up losing a queen here and there, and this is obviously going to be a little bit annoying. The other overseer, I think, is in the main. Yep, there it is. So Snute is handling this quite well, really not taking too many losses. That spine helps out a little bit as well, and obviously left enough units behind at his 3rd base to make sure that hatchery was never in any danger of falling. Yeah, excellent defense again by Snute. There is nothing else to say.
Yeah.
He's playing this super well.
It's a little bit more than that. Like Elazer gave away like some, like not like a whole army, of course, but he gave away some of those roaches. And Snute, you know, he's working off around 50 workers for a long time, but that has been enough to get him to a maxed out supply. Much higher in the army. Elazer may be thinking that he's okay to get to better. Hydras is not, and he takes the fight. He has to. He's actually running away now as he realizes that's a bigger army than mine.
That is a sea of roaches right there for Snute, and that's going to be very, very hard for Elazer to deal with. And it seems like Snute is going to try to catch up these units as well. A few units from Elazer coming in from the right side, but the numbers still heavily favor the Norwegian Zerg from Team Liquid here.
Elazer is trying to get to 2-1, but it's just not going to help, and it's taken away from his roach army. His roaches are getting surrounded here as well, and Snute is just bullying forward. He's losing economy on the other side of the map, but is Elazer going to lose this game?
Yeah, exactly. And losing 14 drones can obviously be quite painful, but Snute is just going to go for the kill here. He runs into the natural, should be able to get the Evo chamber right before +2 finishes as well. The Roach Warren gets sniped. There is a Desperation Spire going down. That's almost like a Dark Shrine in PvP when you're losing, but I don't think this Spire is ever going to see the light of day.
Yeah, he is trying to go for the base trade, realizing that he was caught just before his upgrades, for his Hydras. That's the best thing I can do right now. Even a double Spire, as he realizes the one of the main is probably going to be taken down before it finishes. But this is, as you said, desperation.
Yep, all the way in the right bottom side of the map. Take a look at the bank of Elazer. Isn't actually that big. So even if he makes a couple of mutas, like 3, 4, 5 mutas, are not going to save this game for him. Especially because the base trade that he was going for isn't really working out as well. You probably want to cancel that. That's a pretty expensive building. Does not cancel it. Just straight up loses that first Spire. And Snute obviously knows right now that he's got a hammerlock on this game. It's something very weird has to happen for Snute to lose it.
Yeah, I mean, Snute's even going for his own Spire. So he's taken away that possibility that 6 mutas could eventually win the game. That would be weird. But Snute's also going for the last couple of kills on the hatcheries. I don't know if you know, I don't think he knows about the one on the very bottom, but he'll find it eventually. And Elazer just has to, like, I think his plan not only is hoping for the mutas, but also hoping that Snute keeps on splitting incorrectly to defend. But so far, it's really not been that bad.
Snute's defense throughout this game has been impeccable. Absolutely marvelous play by Snute in this game. The defense against the Nidus was spectacular. That was incredibly hard, but Snute pulled it off, made it seem like he was never in true sheer panic. He's like, no, I kind of know what I have to do. Just buy a little bit of time. A couple of mutas are being produced right now for Elazer, but that is going to be it. Snute has a much better economy. Snute should be able to produce more mutas. He finds that Spire as well, and Elazer knows that his days in this game seem to be numbered.
Yeah, GG, there it is. I was wondering, you know, Elazer usually not a guy that takes too long to tap out of a game. There are some others that are definitely more infamous for that, but if he just thought that game was taken away from him, he's like, what? Like, no, I was going to win. Like, this isn't how it's supposed to go down.
Early on, it really seemed like everything was going well for Elazer. Went for a very cheeky build, incredibly fast layer, super fast Nidus as well. Couple of queens, couple of roaches. But this man put up perhaps the greatest hold we've seen throughout this entire tournament. Awesome play by Snute, who really looks on point. And you know it with Snute as well. If he's feeling it, if he's feeling a little bit confident, he doesn't even have to say it. But as long as a player like Snute says, yeah, I actually feel really good, you can probably expect some really good play out of him. And he looks on fire. This is a good time of the year as well for Snute to really start hitting fire. In the past, a couple of times early on, he peaked. But then the closer and closer we got to the global finals, he seemed to be going downhill a tiny bit and, you know, was struggling with his confidence. He looked awesome in Valencia, and so far he looks fantastic here in Montreal as well.
Yeah, he's looking absolutely amazing. Elazer, though, not to just focus on Snute and how he's doing. Elazer has been having sometimes equally good reactions, equally good holds. Certainly a contender for that final spot. And as you said, probably even a better contender up against Neeb if he were to make it to the finals. I think everyone guessed a 3-2 here, and I'm certainly hoping for it as well, especially since the last map is Catalina, which we have not seen, I don't think, this entire tournament. But the next map is going to be on Odyssey, and Snute just looks like, okay, yeah, even in the second game that he lost, he actually did super well.
Get Funka with it. I like it. Big shout out, of course, to our awesome observers this tournament as well. Mapu from Germany and Funka, the observing legend himself from France.
Yeah, there we go. That's right. Cheer for the observers. They don't even get on-screen presence. Poor guys.
But we do love them.
Yes, we do.
And they know we love them. Game number 4 is going to be played on Odyssey, a map that we also saw in the Grand Finals of Valencia. Back then, Elazer was able to win it with one of these surprise attacks, went up to 3 bases very fast. Snute was stacking up a little bit, but Elazer actually just attacked with roaches, links, couple of ravages, and never went up to a layer. Yeah. Stayed on hatchery base stacks. Obviously, Snute didn't forget about that game, so not saying we'll necessarily see the same, but it's always possible.
Of course, we have to talk about in the last series that they played in Valencia, it did have Snute up 2-1. Or
even 3-1.
2-0, yeah, and then 3-1, that's what I meant to say, exactly. And he was, unfortunately, just got destabilized. Elazer started figuring him out, doing some tricky things, and it really affected him in the final game, where he probably thought, like, okay, I was going to take a 4-1, and he ended up losing it. Can Elazer do the same thing here, bring it to the ace match, and then just take that victory away from Snute?
You can see there are an insane amount of mind games in the ZvZ so far. I think Ascension to Aya was just the craziest. Like, I scout this, I'll do that, you scout me, and this is probably gonna happen. And they were just kind of leveling each other into like trying to get ahead of each other. And even in that last game as well, you see Elazer starting +1 missile attacks, trying to throw Snute off a little bit. Elazer even showing a very fast 2-1 roach timing attack earlier in this tournament against True on Mech Depot. So it's kind of like, you know, there's a good chance that happens, and then bam, suddenly it's completely different. Suddenly he goes for a Nidus attack. So Elazer is definitely trying to outsmart Snute, but so far it's not working.
No, we have in the bottom right on this 4th game, he is up 2-1. Oh boy, it is Team Liquid Snute.
That is a very, very fast extractor indeed. But first, over here on the left top side of the map, we're looking at the main base of the Polish Zerg. Give it up for Elazer.
This feels like a brand new Snute. I love when you're talking about him going with the Hydras. I thought it was perfect. Now him trying to end this series with the early pool. Shown aggression, has shown just good scouting, reactions to Elazer, who tripped him up last time, and now he's looking to trip him up one final time at Montreal.
Yeah, Snute really seemed to have just broadened his arsenal of builds that he likes to go with in ZvZ. In the past, we've often said he can be a little bit predictable, and then sometimes he suddenly went overboard with a few too many cheeses. But it really seems like he has balanced his ZvZ out very, very well. And on top of that, his execution so far in this series has been absolutely on point. Now, let's see when Elazer identifies this, and obviously then the big question is, how does Elazer deal with this? Is he going to try to keep the hatchery alive? Is he going to pull drones to the low ground? Is he just going to try to defend on the high ground and be like, you know what, from my part, you kill that hatchery as long as you don't kill my drones? We're about to find out.
Yeah, certainly this can lead to a weird game that still goes on for 8 or 9 minutes, but sometimes you do see the immediate victory if Elazer messes up the defense. Of course, he's been going for the same opener every time, and I'm sure Snute is taking that into account when he decided to go for this build. He's sneaking the Lings across as he barely dodging that overlord. Oh, so close, but I do believe Elazer will see that.
Yep, 2 Lings on the way. First Queen does get spotted immediately. No extra drones being produced, so that is at least good news for Elazer. But this is still not going to be easy. Spinecrawler does start immediately in the main base. Elazer right now knows exactly what he's facing. Is probably expecting there to be a Baneling nest as well, as the first 2 Banes are morphing already. And so far, Elazer is not showing us any signs of trying to keep this hatch alive by pulling drones or any sort. Obviously, that would be very risky against Banes. Now, we do remember Defender's Landing, and back then there was a hatchery incredibly low on HP for way too long. Back then, Snute didn't get the kill. I'm pretty sure this time he will if he gets the chance.
Oh, he's trying to go for the throw here in the main base. The Spinecrawler perfectly positioned for this Queen up popped out, but she's already getting low. 4 drones go down to the Banelings, but we'll see if that was worthwhile. Another Baneling here is going to maybe get a good hit in the Lings.
Good job there by Elazer, pulling a couple of those Zerglings away. And so far, Elazer stabilizes, keeps the hatch alive. Only, and I say only, losing 5 drones because he was ahead by 6 workers. Great hold there by Elazer.
Yeah, of course, with that hatchery still alive, Snute does still end up behind. His greatest strength is that he does have speed, but Elazer started his. He didn't rush to his own Baneling nest. He didn't panic, so he'll have his soon too.
That Queen survived, right? Did the Queen in the end go down? Maybe on the ramp it went down. Did any Queen go down in this game? No. So there were a lot of Lings attacking that Queen in the main base for quite some time. And in the end, Snute didn't get the kill, and that obviously hurts a lot, because those are moments where Lings could have potentially be fighting other Lings, or even getting on top of a couple of drones. But going into that choke point where that Spine was morphing, and the Queen was very nice tucked away as well. Good snipe there on one of these Banes. Elazer with great defense.
I would say it's pretty important. Snute was really hoping to scare Elazer off this counterattack with that Baneling, but there's another one. Almost gets the great hit, but Elazer paying very close attention. Equally good micro going down here. Elazer would love, if he got a cancel on Snute's hatchery, that would be absolutely huge. But
that's going to be hard because he has quite a bit of HP. But even if he just gets a few drones, and the least thing that Elazer gets here is that he's forcing out a few additional units, another Bane being morphed as well. So even if Elazer doesn't do any direct damage here, he does indirect damage to the economy of Snute.
Exactly, and I think that's what Snute was hoping for before he got pushed off that front of Elazer's base. It is going to be that usual ZvZ, just mastercraft of like, hey, I know that I am in the aggressor's seat, so I needed a drone, and then they do the same thing. And Elazer adds on not just a lot more drones, but also a layer and evolution chamber. This ended up being tricky last game. He might just be going for the actual standard Roach +1.
Yep, numbers-wise, this may look close, but Elazer's in a very sweet position. He had 9 drones on the way. He also has 3 Queens out against a single Queen at the moment of Snute. Second Queen is about to pop, though, but that's still a very sweet advantage that Elazer has. Obviously, later on, he can always fall back on those Queens. They can draw a couple of good transfusions as well. So I'm pretty sure Elazer is loving this position, and Snute knows that he didn't do the damage he was looking for.
No, he certainly did not. And as you said, yeah, he knows it. But there are ways to try and come back. He does have Banelings over Elazer, and that can sometimes help out. Certainly provide better opportunities to actually tear down Elazer's third when he moves out or is out of position with his Roaches. But obviously Snute on equal tech here, about to be anyways, with the Roaches, but behind on the +1 in the speed.
Yep, 11 more drones on the way. Just full macro mode at this point for our Polish Zerg. As his layer is done, the layer for Snute is going to be a little bit later. Couple of Lings run into this Bane. I think it's gonna be probably just macro from this point. Technically, you could say maybe Elazer could try to hit the timing since he has quite slightly faster +1 missile attacks. But I think that's going to be really hard, and I'm not sure if the numbers are going to be that much in his favor that he can really hit some sort of a window.
Yeah, he's not going the Overlord burst here where you're getting prepared for all the Roaches that are about to come out. He does take that third base. Certainly, as his Roaches trickle forward, this is where Snute, if he had 20 or 30 Lings, would be looking for the attack, but he's really hasn't rebuilt those. He's been trying to rebuild his economy, keep up with Elazer, so his own third goes on location here too.
Yep. Snute is going to find a couple of Lings in the middle of the map of Elazer. Once again, Elazer still in a minor lead here, especially Army Supply right now. He's up 18. Obviously, Snute is going to be producing his own Roaches, so it's a little bit closer than that. But I think from this point on, it's hard, though, to capitalize on the advantage, right? Because Elazer is in a position where he knows that he did well. That is interesting. For a split second, he started +1 melee, and I was like, what? Yeah. But then he canceled it immediately, and he started +2 missile attacks, and I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I would have been shocked to see +1 melee being researched there.
Well, Elazer has been steadily making roaches, and he's decided to move out here as roach speed finished.
Yeah, I mean, this was a window that I didn't think really existed, but Elazer is still going to try to go for it. Obviously, he does have roach speed right now, and he does have +1 missile attacks. Snute doesn't have it. It's narrow, but it seems like Elazer might actually be able to capitalize on this advantage that he did create for himself early on, as he's going to jump on a couple of these roaches on the north side. I think in the end, Defender's advantage should be enough here, but if Elazer can get a good trade, this was still worth it.
Yeah, the +1 still in effect in their 10 seconds. He is dancing around, taking out Snute's roaches. As you said, looks like Defender's advantage is going to work out. He holds his third base, didn't even lose the workers, and is now matching again Elazer's. But Elazer's going to have that 2-1 upgrade. Snute is still on an uphill climb here.
Yep, Elazer lost 7 roaches there, Snute lost 6, but Elazer was economically ahead a little bit. He still had an upgrade, so that was all right. He tried, and in the end, he didn't, do that much, but it also wasn't a big loss. I think it's something that Elazer can live with. It was a trade, it was pretty much as big of a trade as it can get, but since Elazer was up a few drones and he forced out more units, so you could still say that was a minor advantage for Elazer as well. And over time, all these minor advantages that the Polish Zerg has created for himself, they will obviously add up. And the biggest one is, like you said, Jess, that second evolution chamber.
Yeah, the upgrade's going to be just way ahead. Snute's going to have to think of other ways to really take fights. I mean, there's a certain point where you can take good positional advantages, and that'll make up for something. Maybe 1 upgrade, maybe like 10 roach or something like that. But 2 upgrades and what is probably going to be a much bigger army, because Elazer just has had the better economy for so long. Like, that's got to be something else.
Yep, a couple of Ravages in the mix as well. That's going to be nice. So the Ravage count is in favor of Elazer. The roach count is currently in favor of Elazer as well. And the upgrades are going to be in favor of Elazer. Now, the one big downside for him is obviously that he is going to be the aggressor here. Attacking is always a little bit harder than defending, but he does have the numbers, he does have the upgrades, and Elazer is going to try to do his best to send it into Game 5 here.
I mean, it's a nice concave. Suits the defender, gets that advantage, but it's a small one compared to all the upgrades that Elazer has now finished 2-1 to just a single upgrade. Snute goes aggressively into the army, looking for the heart of the Ravagers.
I really like the way that Snute is handling this so far. Even though he's still down in supply, he does get on top of these Ravagers, and it really felt that maybe Elazer had a few too many reinforcements on the way, but in the end, upgrades are massive. Once again, these roaches of Elazer are just quite a bit stronger than the roaches of Snute. I felt that Snute did well there, but perhaps in the end, it didn't matter.
Doesn't seem to. One shining moment where Snute seemed to be equalizing on the roaches just amounts to Elazer pushing through, taking out the third base, taking out the rest of the roaches, and Snute is going to be forced into an ace match yet again.
Yep, as Elazer has 81 supply left. GG. We are going to Game 5 once again. Incredibly close between these two. Even though Elazer won the last 4 encounters, as Todd mentioned as well on the analysis desk. The funny thing is, right before that, Snute won 5 times in a row. Not 5 matches, but 5 series. So even though Elazer had a little bit of momentum lately, it's still very close. Obviously, Valencia was 4-3. Shouldn't be a huge surprise or a huge upset that we are going to Game 5 here, even though Snute did look incredibly good in those first 3 games.
Yeah, it was almost fate to go to Game 5 here. So Snute tried the aggressive end of the best of 5, went for the early pool, the early gas, maybe overeager in his attempts to go for that main base, and Elazer just cool as a cucumber. Had no problem. He didn't even panic, as I said, and got that baneling nest and then get, like, hold up on his own 1 base. Like, that was a perfect defense.
I wonder how that would have played out as Snute wouldn't have gone for the middle line. Like, obviously, I understand he wants to do economic damage, because if you just kill the hatchery there, like, Snute obviously could have killed the hatch if that's all he wanted. But if he invests that much early on into the pool, into gas, into banelings, and you just kill the hatchery, yeah, it's 1 base, and your hatch is going to be a tiny bit faster than the hatch of your opponent, but you're down 6-7 workers, and you've been mining less for pretty much the entirety of the game because you invested in that spawning pool and the banelings nest immediately. So Snute is like, nope, I need a little bit more. Obviously, a dream scenario is that he does a little bit of economic damage, and then you get the hatchery. But Elazer's defense was too good. Both players just looking incredibly good in this series so far when it comes to holding scenarios that could normally be very difficult to defend.
Yeah, well, I'm not just glad due to their past record and just being 2 absolute fantastic European Zergs. I'm also glad we're going to the ace match because it is going to be on Catalina. I think this map might have been the obvious one for the pool first. That's why we went for the last one to try and end it before that happened. And that is certainly going to be a threat in both of their minds. I don't see this map too often, but it can be very aggressive.
Yep, for the people who are not watching StarCraft 2 24/7, Catalina's quite unique because it's not a 2-player map or a 4-player map, but it's a 3-player map. We haven't had that many of them over the years. I think we had Testbach very early on, and as soon as that one disappeared, it took a while. I guess Merry-Go-Round was a 3-player map as well. That was actually a very popular one. Catalina was popular in Heart of the Swarm. It went away for a while. Recently, it came back, and it's one of these maps we see in best of 5s. So it's going to be quite unique.
We're getting into the ace match. In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, it is Snute.
Loving it. Snute definitely a fan favorite everywhere he goes. Even in China. He's always the most loved foreigner. On the right top side of Catalina, we're looking at the main base of our WCS Valencia champion. It is Elazer. What a year for Elazer. For people who perhaps missed it, earlier this year, Elazer did actually not attend WCS Austin. And that obviously came as a surprise to many people. Back then he was still in school. He had to finish up his exams. He did play in Challenger, picked up a couple of WCS points there. But back then he told Nurture, as Nurture told me, he's like, yeah, Elazer's actually not worried at all. He's pretty confident he's still going to make it to the global finals, even though he missed one of the 4 stops. Showed up in Jönköping, had a great run there, made it to the semifinals, only losing to Serral. And well, since then, it only got better. Elazer absolutely on fire once again.
Yeah, he was correct to call. They'd still make it. Now we have Snute going back to what he did the first 2 games. That pool first, and I believe the gas they had already done. So I think it was gas first, actually. But Elazer goes for what he's been doing. I mean, he defended the early pool with it, so it seems like he's not broke. Don't fix it. And even though it's Catalina, which can be very aggressive, he still feels comfortable.
This is definitely a smaller map. A lot of these Heart of the Swarm maps were still quite a bit big, smaller than most of the legacy maps that we have these days. So we have that beautiful Pokemon guessing game. I forgot the name of that Pokemon that looks a lot like that.
Who's that? Probably an octopus. Yeah.
Snute was sending his Overlord to the left side. It seemed like he changed his mind. He's like, I probably should have found another Overlord by now. Or maybe this is the first Overlord that spotted the hatchery. So he's going to get his Overlords in good positions. Let's see how many links are going to be produced early on. Once again, because this is a smaller map, there's a good chance that you see a little less macroing up early on and a few more Ling Bane skirmishes. Obviously, Elazer had a slightly more macro-oriented opening. He's a tiny bit richer, but Snute is going to be able to work with a few units a little bit faster.
I did think that Snute saw the Overlord. He's actually pulled his Lings back. Okay, now he's going to show them. Speed is still a little ways off, and once again, going for the much earlier Baneling nest. This worked out really well in game number 1. In the second game, it worked okay, but he still ended up losing that. Is Elazer just getting used to this and going to defend it even better this time? Well, I think he was actually going to go for his own little Ling of Poke, but now decides, okay, I'm just going to bring him back.
Yep, obviously defending is quite easy in Lings against Lings, where you have a couple of Queens helping out as well. Queens have a lot of HP, and they are ranged. Snute obviously knows this, so it doesn't really make much sense for Snute to commit to a fight. But what he can do is try to pick off a couple of drones, and that's exactly what Snute seems to be going for. Got very close to getting that second one. A little bit of misfire there, but he got 1 drone for the cost of, I think, 2 or 3 Zerglings, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I mean, they're still at the even worker, so even though he went for the less economical opener, he still has control, good control of the game. He has Banelings. 2 of them are morphing. I'm not sure where.
Did Elazer lose an Overlord on the other side of the map? No, it was just, I guess he canceled the Spine Crawler. That's why he was able to supply block himself
exactly.
more than he was supposed to. Tried to go up to 3 bases quite fast as well there, but there were 2 links. Keeping an eye on it, but Elazer does a good job in morphing that drone into an extractor. He can cancel it right now and still go for the hatch.
The unit's lost tab was funny. Just instantly 12 Lings appear on it for Elazer. I think he just ran up Snute's ramp and got hit by a Baneling. I think that's what happened anyways. It just appeared out of nowhere. But that means that Snute could try and be aggressive on the 30, just witness be placed down. There are a couple of Queens, though. It's a small map. If he was already making Lings, he might be able to actually push forward a little bit more here. Not nearly as good of a hit, and looks like they're both going to get their thirds.
Yep, Snute is ahead economically, so obviously he doesn't have that many Lings and Banes to work with right now. We see a Roach Warren go down. This is one of these maps, though, where there is a chance that even though Elazer goes up to 3 bases very fast, that he doesn't have any intentions in making a layer anytime soon. Yeah, Elazer is a player who loves to march queens across the map as well and just go for a hatchery type of attack, and that is 7 roaches immediately, which I feel is a few more than you would normally make if you're worried about just Lings and Banes. He's down 12 workers as well, so I think Elazer is going to put it all on the line here with a pretty quick attack on Snute.
Yep. Down in workers, he was banking quite a lot, put it all into those roaches. His scouts sees the main base does not have a lair. Snute is not being too greedy here. He's getting his own roaches, Lings, even a couple of Banelings. The queens want to take away the sight, maybe supply block Snutes, but I think Snute already has a feeling something like this is on the way.
Yeah, I really think Snute is reading this as a book so far. I mean, he's making a couple of extra overlords himself. He's not tacking up. He knows Elazer incredibly well. He's obviously no stranger to his playstyle, no stranger to things that Elazer loves to do. Elazer trying to catch Snute off guard here, but so far it seems like Snute is very well prepared.
He is still down in army supply. It's a very tight moment here. He has the high ground. He has defender's advantage. He has Banelings against Elazer's Lings. That poor Ravager.
Ravager very exposed.
Struggling. What are you doing, buddy?
Yep, good job there by Elazer pulling it back. You don't want to end up losing your Ravager almost immediately, but Elazer has to micro his roaches on the south side of the screen as well. This is becoming a very scrappy battle. Snute obviously has to be careful that he doesn't lose too many of those roaches on the north side there. I don't think there's any need for Snute to fight this far out. Stay closer to the hatcheries, fight closer to your reinforcements.
Exactly, and he realizes that, pulls it back. He can bring in the queens. In a desperate scenario, he could even bring in a couple of drones before he would have to tap out. His own Ravager is done. Finalize Elazer's queens. Finally made it across the map. Matching, I suppose, Snute's, but still, defender's advantage should be good enough for Snute.
It's very close. I mean, army supply is pretty much dead. Even obviously Snute still has a few more units in production as well, but Elazer's reinforcements are further away. But it seems like Elazer is getting the upper hand early on in this battle. Snute once again fighting pretty far down his ramp. He doesn't have to do this. He can stay off the ramp. I think he could have bought a little bit more time for himself. Now it definitely seems that that hatchery is going to be in a lot of trouble. The queens are very low on HP. It would be nice for Snute to get a kill on one of them, but that ain't happening so far.
Yeah, amazingly close game. Snute, his reinforcements from the third base are going to be cut off, so that's kind of limiting his larva factor here. In fact, the eggs could even be canceled. 2 of them just going to get sniped. This is Elazer's benefit going towards that third.
Yep, that's a lot of units that Snute would have loved to have with his main army that are going to get picked off immediately. Elazer's reinforcing with Zerglings, as the observer is showing us as well. But he's going to end up losing a couple of roaches. That Ravager is super low on HP as well. This hatchery seems like it's probably going to go down, but these Broodlings are going to help Snute in cleaning up this army. Don't forget about the Link flood. That's probably going to go to the natural or maybe even the main base. But Snute left a couple of units behind, and even though Snute lost that hatch, I think we can call this a hold.
Yeah, it's really a question. Like, is losing a hatch really that bad when you're still up in workers, when Elazer can't even really use his third hatchery to mine? Is it really that much of an advantage? A little bit in larva for sure, but Snute's already replaced it.
Elazer is actually floating quite a bit of minerals. He just decided to make 20 links instead. But that is kind of odd, because are links truly the unit you want to have right now when your opponent already has that many roaches out? The only thing that Elazer could maybe hope for is try to get a cancel on the new third base, or go for a big run by and to buy time for himself. But in a straight up battle, these links are not going to be super useful for Elazer.
Yeah, they can sometimes get the wraparound on Ravagers that are 2 for 4 like this, or as you said, run past. But it is definitely dangerous to pin your hopes on Lings, especially since Snute does technically have that Baneling advantage. He could make 1 or 2, and Elazer just would lose a ton of army instantly. Snute is also no longer even on army supply. He is now ahead.
Yep, Snute looking very, very good to make another appearance in the grand finals here of a WCS Circuit event, even though these links do come forward. They grab one of the Ravagers very quickly, and the other one is very low on HP. Elazer gets 2 Ravagers there for his Zerglings. I think that's pretty much as good as the Polish Zerg could have hoped for, but he has no plans, no intentions of tacking up. He's gonna go for another attack similar to the previous one, but back then the numbers favored him. This time the numbers favor Snute, and Snute is still the defending player. It's 20 roaches against 5.
I'm not sure how Elazer's going to pull this one off. It would have to be an amazing surround, or the Lings, as I said, tearing down the economy. But he tries to go for surround on the left side of the roaches, but the right side is just as big, and that is it. Snute gets revenge.
Wow.
3-2.
Awesome series there by the Norwegian Zerg. Incredibly well done, as we have our grand finals of WCS Montreal. It's going to be Snute versus Neep, a rematch of WCS Austin 2016, if I recall correctly, where they met in the semifinals back then, where Hydra ended up winning, or that was 2015 already. Time absolutely flies these days. 2015 it was, so these players have been on top of the scene for a long time already. Awesome series, very fun ZvZ.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, it was back and forth. It absolutely deserved to go to the ace match. I know the crowd favorite has won. We are looking forward to those finals. But guys, we're going to talk with the winner. We're with Mal and Snute.
All right, Snute, congratulations in this victory. You know, everybody knows that you're a fan favorite. Wherever you go, it doesn't matter you're in China, it doesn't matter you're in Canada, States, wherever.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for all the cheers, for showing up, watching StarCraft. Shout outs to everyone watching online also. It's really cool to see everyone showing up here in full force, so thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Us Canadians, we come with full force, with full of excitement. So before going into this series, your statistics against Elazer was 18-18, 21-20 now, because obviously somebody had to win.
Yeah, it's very close between the two of us. Last time he won, this time I won, so it just goes to show we're very evenly matched, I guess.
Yes, that was. Yesterday's match, to be honest, versus Terran is a little scrappy. I don't mean to be offensive or anything, but it was, because I've seen a lot better out of you. Zerg versus Zerg, I wouldn't say it was scrappy, very back and forth. How confident, how comfortable are you going up against a Protoss?
Not as much. Protoss is my weakest matchup right now, and Neeb is absolutely crazy good, so...
Don't say that. He's listening to this.
But it's true, it's true. I mean, he knows, everyone knows. But it's a good opportunity for me, you know? If I can beat Neeb, then it's going to be a pretty big upset, and, you know, just the thought of it makes me a bit excited, I guess.
It will be the return of the veteran, for sure. Thank you very much for the interview. Congratulations, best of luck. See you in the finals.
Feels like it won't go any other way between Snute and Elazer as they go the whole distance, the full hog, the whole best of 5. 3-2 victory for Snute, and he makes the final. So we have now one of the greatest foreigners of all time in Snute going up against the recent greatest foreigner in Neeb in the grand final. That's a dream matchup.
Oh man, I told you it was going to go to Game 5, James, and Snute and Elazer did not disappoint. What a sick, close ZvZ that was. So many action-packed highlights happening right now on screen for all you guys watching in the crowd and at home. And that is the victor right there. Yen's going to face Neeb. So happy. This final is actually the dream. I was telling the guys this morning, you know, on our way to the venue, like what they said, Maynard, what's your dream final? Neeb and Snute.
Yeah.
And then I really, really want my boy, the Yens, to win it all. I know that we're in North America, but Neeb's had a couple. I think I would just feel so, because a happy Snute just makes me so happy. It's infectious. No. I want to see it.
Yeah, very impressive here by Snute. You know, we kept saying it's going to go all 5 maps, and it did. But looking at the games, it could very easily have been a 3-0 for either player. Like, there were so many moments where, like, you know, one Baneling detonation almost felt like it decided the entire game. So some pretty good ones here. You know, like ZvZ, sometimes it can be hard to appreciate if you're not a Zerg player, but when I see these guys play, I'm like, yeah, actually, like, they're absolutely insane, and you really see them, like, all their effort, all their training coming to fruition in some of these moves here that we do see them apply.
Well, actually, that's a good point that you bring up. It's like, yeah, sometimes Zerg versus Zerg, it gets into those very stable, you know what's going to be happening in those games, but a lot of those games unfolded, and I didn't know what was going to happen in them because there were so many diverse, different strategies that these guys were bringing out, and some crazy situations like that Nida Swarm in the main to be able to kill it off, etc.
Yeah, and each of those games actually, well, not each of the games, but most of those games actually had situations where one of them would have the lead and then lose it, and then get the lead and then lose that, and then it was a very like back and forth, really, I mean, so closely matched. That's what you're going to get every single time. Yeah. Even in ZvZ, when you're that good, it really isn't that much of a dice roll at all.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's check in with the bracket, see what's happened so far here for WCS Montreal as well as what's to come. And there's not much more to come, but there is all to play for in that grand final down towards the end. Neeb and Snute have been victorious on their roads through. What have you made of their road so far?
Well, there's been a lot of Europe against North America, and that's what we get in the grand finals to find out which region is the best here. Usually Neeb is like the one guy that's, you know, putting his foot down and saying, well, you know, North America is still pretty darn good. But this time around, I feel like if I had to pick 1 or 2 players here, or 2, I would say, is the right number to try and go up against Neeb and really take him out, it would have been Elazer or Snute. So either way, we were going to get a sick finals, and now we get it with the earningest non-Korean Snute going up against the one guy that's probably threatening him the most, because Neeb has been earning a lot of money and he's currently in 4th place. And I guess a lot of money is on the line between these two. And they want those esports dollars, because that's what it's all about, isn't it?
The best kind of dollars.
Yeah. Maynard, excited for the final?
Absolutely, man. I mean, I would heavily favor Neeb in this because, as we saw in that bracket, Neeb had a lot of PVZs, didn't lost too many maps. PVZ for Neeb is probably his best matchup. And Snute keeps complaining about, you know, not being informed, that his CVP is not his best. But, I mean, that's what Snute's like. He just keeps putting himself down. He is still a boss. And if anyone can take it to Neeb, it'll be him.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Time to go to a short break now. But when we are back, a special treat as well as the grand finals coming up here at WCS Montreal. So don't go anywhere. Our grand final between Neeb and Snute is just a few moments away.